When we left off on Wednesday, Jon Jones had been approved to apply for a license by October 28th, which fully led into line with a November 3rd Madison Square Garden card, of which had an opening at the top of the bill. It's in New York. Jon Jones grew up in New York. It's a return fight. I mean, just all of these things were coming together, and all of a sudden, we get hit with, I'm going to tell you what we were hit with, but this is already a day late, okay? Today's Friday. I'm giving you Thursday's news. On Thursday, we get hit with the fact it's going to be Yoel Romero versus Alexander Gustafsson for a light heavyweight championship on the top of the bill of Madison Square Garden. Now, I was on ESPN Plus when I got hit with that news. I got hit with that news by Ariel Helwani. I said, Ariel, time out a second. Are you speculating that it's going to be Gus versus Romero? Or are you reporting this? And he goes, Chael, I'm not in the speculation game. And I said, I'm always a reporter. I go, okay, no, hold on, Ariel. You're taking me wrong here. I'm not challenging you on that bit. I'm just trying to process what you said because possibly a bigger storyline than the revelation that you just made about Gus and Romero and finally answering that question of who's going to headline MSG, possibly a bigger part than that. If they're going to fight for the strap at 205 pounds, that means effectively what you've just told me is Daniel Cormier was stripped. That is groundbreaking news in the world of mixed martial arts. Okay, if we're not watching a pay-per-view, if we're not live at a show, if we're not watching a fight, Daniel Cormier being stripped is really huge news. So let's back up a second. And it was a very interesting moment because when I hit Ariel back with that, he did a quick pause. He's like, you're right, that's a part of the storyline I hadn't considered. And then Ariel goes, well, hold on. We don't know yet if it's going to be for the Undisputed Championship, which is the one that Daniel holds, or if it's going to be for an interim championship, which is a very common thing to do when your light heavyweight champion, in this case Daniel Cormier, is put on ice for a little bit because he's getting ready to defend his heavyweight crown against Brock Lesnar. Okay, fair enough, but it is a very important part that eventually we do get to the bottom of because it might be a bigger storyline. And if you're going to move Gus versus Romero into the main event, even if you aren't captioning that press release with the fact that a strap is going to be on the line of some capacity, interim or undisputed, I think that a reasonable person that follows the sport and the UFC brand specifically understands some belt's going to be up. They love to do that. They love to do that for main events. This is Madison Square Garden. So all the pieces are coming together. Stop the music, guys. Don't look any further. Apparently you fans didn't love that fight because here we are a day later on something known as Friday, and that fight is off. Not only is Romero not going to be fighting Gustafsson, which I should mention this, is a fantastic fight. There's no part of me that doesn't think that's going to be a fun fight. Got no problem with it whatsoever. The part that gave some pushback was when you're talking about main eventing Madison Square Garden. Not just the venue is important. We're armed with one other small detail. And when we're doing our detective work and we're trying to guess, we got to bring in all these details, right? The one detail we have is we know what the co-main event is. We know that it's going to be Poirier versus Nate Diaz, which is a fight we really want to see. People love to watch Nate Diaz fight, and Poirier has been nothing but amazing lately. Let's do that fight. So when we were told that there was going to be a main event, we then had to speculate who it was going to be, and we had to be able to offer whoever the critics were that it's a bigger fight than the co-main event of Poirier and Diaz. Okay, great, fair enough. I think some of us, I think I would be included in this, felt that as good as Romero and Gustafsson was, fell short of meeting the parameter that it's got to be more anticipated and a bigger and better fight than Poirier-Diaz. Before I jump around too much on this, I do have to come back to the conclusion. Now, I've told you guys from day one this was going to be Jon Jones. Jon Jones was going to fight Gustafsson on that fight. In fact, to quote myself, I told you I was very bullish on the fact that it was going to be Jon Jones. I was bearish on the fact that it was going to be Alexander Gustafsson as an opponent, but that I would still go ahead and speculate that. Well, I was 50% right. But I was right on the part that I was weak about, which was Gus. I was wrong on the part I was bullish about with Jones, but not so fast before anybody says egg on your face to Chael. They tried to make Gustafsson versus Jones. They tried to do that fight. Jon Jones got cleared. Everybody went through the hoops. Everybody did everything that they were supposed to do. Jon Jones didn't want to do the fight that fast. Jon Jones did not want to go in and do the fight that fast. Now, I'm telling you guys the news that came out. I'm not telling you facts yet. We'll get to the facts. I'm telling you the news to bring you guys up to speed. Okay. Excuse me. So, Jon Jones is cleared. Jon Jones doesn't want to fight in his hometown, in Madison Square Garden, in a return match, arguably for a championship against Gustafsson. Fine. Romero versus Gustafsson falls a little bit flat. Fine. Wasn't signed yet. Let's put the brakes on. So what do we do for MSG? There's still no answer. I don't have that answer. I'd love to give it to you guys, and it could be coming any minute now. I expect as every single day goes by that we're getting that much closer to finding the answer of who is going to be the mystery. Side A and Side B, who walks first and who walks last in the main event of Madison Square Garden. But as the days keep going by and as particular fights have even been offered and either couldn't get done or you fans simply said you didn't want to see them, it does start to draw us a little bit closer to a scenario where we simply make Diaz and Poirier the main event. We've seen that before. From a promotional standpoint, it creates a tiny bit of a problem. Okay, when you've already said as the promotion, that's not good enough to headline.